Hello everybody, welcome to the Political Vigilante. My name is Graham Elwood. We talk a lot about private prisons on this show because they're pretty awful, they're pretty evil. California just banned them. Well, way to go, California. Gavin Newsom, who is the new governor of the state of California, who is a pretty neoliberal corporate Democrat, but here's what's happened. Groups and people have just been so loud about this. About abolishing ICE, about we're sick of the private prison industry, and we're starting to get some, this is how, complaining on a local level in mass it's a big gesture, and it can actually affect change. It can affect change. So private prisons are also been using ICE centers. The bill removes profit motive from incarceration and marks latest clash in states' battle with Trump over treatment of immigrants. And I'm going to go into how ICE and the private prison industry has circumvented some of the rules. The move will probably also close down 4 large immigration detention facilities that hold up to 4,500 people at a time. Let me explain something to you about immigration here in the state of California. So in the state of California, we have some of the highest car insurance in the country. One of the reasons they say that we have such high is there's a lot of uninsured motors. A high percentage of uninsured motors are undocumented immigrants. So in order to get car insurance in California, in probably every state, you have to have a driver's license. So you know what would happen if we gave all these people a path to citizenship? If we let them, first of all, they would all go to the DMV and get IDs and driver's license. So then the state would get all those fees, which would boost the state's economy and more revenue for the state of California. DMV revenue fees help pay for roads and all that stuff, right? Then we would have more insured motors. So there'd be less uninsured motors on the streets, which would make the streets better. And then you have people actually paying taxes. Rounding people up and locking people up is actually bad. This country was built on immigrants. It has been built on immigrant labor. And slave labor, of course, but immigrants have done a lot of the building of this country. And locking people up, sure, people that are actually criminals, yeah, of course, but just deporting anybody? And then spending all this money on private prisons? So private prisons have a profit motive. They get paid. So that means they need to go round up, they need more criminals. So, let's round up, that's good for the private prison industry. Prisons shouldn't be for profit, because that means then the prisons need more criminals, which is why smoking a plant is illegal in a lot of places. Not in California anymore, thankfully. But let's get back to the numbers. As recently as 2016, private prisons locked up approximately 7,000 Californians, about 5% of the state's total prison population. That's a lot. How I say it starts on a local level. And in a lot of states, private prisons are like the biggest employer. See that? So then you're stuck in this how do I get a job? I got to join the private prison industry or go to the military because there's no good union paying. You see how they do it? You see they keep us all trapped and working as prison guards for the ruling class's bullshit? The state's governor, Gavin Newsom, must sign AB 32. And he said during his inaugural speech in January that the state should end the outrage of private prisons once and for all. So, Gavin Newsom, if you do not sign this bill, then you are a liar. You will be another filthy corporate Democratic liar. So do your job, back your own words, and sign this bill. Who does the private prisons? The GEO Group. They have 4 private prisons in California and that are under contract with the California Department of Corrections. The contracts for these 4 prisons expire in 2023 and cannot be renewed under AB 32. This is how they got smart. They found a loophole because ICE and the private prison industry work hand in glove, right? It's good business to round people up. and who don't have laws or rights, and just round them up and throw them in detention centers. Don't even deport them, just keep them housed in cages and whatever. So they said, wait a minute, all these contracts expire. This is how we're going to end this. This is how you need grassroots activism to get involved and find these loopholes. Because they spend all this money finding loopholes to screw us over, to make profit off of incarcerating people. So we got to find the loopholes to stick it to them, because they're evil. They're evil. We have to stick it to them. I want to make money off of prisons. You get up every morning and look yourself in the mirror and say, yeah, I want to make money of jails. Yeah. Then you go play with your kids. Daddy just got done jailing poor people, pumpkin. Is that what you do? Oh, we rounded up a bunch of people who are just trying to escape repression and from their country that America probably sanctioned, or Americans buy all their drugs through that yay, like what Daddy did. Two of ICE's largest immigration detention centers in California are operated by the GEO Group through complicated contracts that use cities as middlemen. So they use all these complicated rules. So we got to find the loopholes and stick it to them. Find a chink in their armor. That's what you have to do. Because know this about the ruling class, these big corporations. They have a lot of money, a lot of power, but they are so arrogant. They think they can get away with anything. And you got to find whatever you can. You find a little hole in the fence and you pry it open and you get in there and get them out. Here's an example. The city of Adelanto signed an agreement in 2011 with ICE to hold up to 1,300 immigrant detainees facing deportation. Adelanto then subcontracted the prison operations to GEO Group. And here's what they do. What ICE does is they locate in these very poor and remote areas, says Elizabeth Albin, an Inland Coalition for Immigrant Justice. The private prison comes in and lobbies and promises jobs and tax money. They're trying to do this out in Bakersfield and San Bernardino. Poor, there's working class and there's poor families out there. And a lot of Latinos, a lot of people we can round up for our private prisons. That's how they work. On September 6, AB 32 was amended. This is why we got to be careful. This is a victory, but to allow GEO Group, Core Civic, and other for-profit prison companies to continue operating after 2020, but only to help the state comply with a court-ordered prison population cap. So, the use of private prisons for state inmates is to be fully phased out by 2028. But let's go back to this now. Be careful. They can continue operating after 2020, but only to help state comply with court-ordered prison population cap. Because you can't have overcrowding, right? So just be careful that they don't try to find some other thing, to some new law to pass. Oh, now we need to lock up all these people. Just to keep the private prison industry, they help write laws, they pay for think tanks to write laws, they buy politicians. That's what they do. That's what they do. And they pay politicians to give speeches like this.
Okay, so I say with all love and warmth that part of the concern also for people who are progressive thinking and liberal-minded, or just progressive thinking in terms of just fix it, is that we all have these posters in our closet that is attached to a stick that we sometimes will card out when we're talking about criminal justice policy and those statistics that you first heard when we opened it up, incarceration. And we run around with these signs, build more schools, less jails. Build more schools, less jails. And we walk around everywhere, build more schools, we protest, build.
Mocking, this is Kamala Harris, mocking people that want more schools and less prisons. She's mocking them. And she wants to be president. Remember now, 120,000 people of color went to jail. She locked them up for weed and all this other ridiculous nonsense when she was Attorney General of the state of California. So you know the private prison industry loves her.
Or schools, less jails. Put money into education, not prisons. There's a fundamental problem with that approach, in my opinion. And it's this. I agree with that conceptually. But you have not addressed the reason I have 3 padlocks on my front door.
And again, she's not addressing the same thing when Joe Biden passed his horrifyingly racist Biden-Hatch crime bill in 1994 that Bill Clinton signed into law that Bernie Sanders openly opposed, I might add. It doesn't, and neither does this offensive speech, it doesn't address what causes the crime, right? What are we going to do with, and the same thing with immigration. What are we going to do with all these immigrants? Well, first of all, let's stop sanctioning their countries, right? Which is an act of warfare, which creates people who, refugees who need to leave there. Why would someone want to walk 1,000 miles to come to a better life? Why don't we stop bombing all these countries? Why don't we stop threatening Venezuela because they have the audacity to not give us it's our oil? How dare Venezuela put a country above our oil on their sovereign land? How dare they? It's America's oil. Oligarch's wet dream. Oligarch's dream. Kamala Harris. So this was a victory, but we got to stay on top of it because the private prison industry isn't going to go away that easily. And they want ICE, and we need to abolish ICE. We need complete criminal justice reform. And it won't come if Kamala Harris is president. It won't come. She protected pedophile priests as a district attorney in the state of, when she was district attorney in San Francisco. Joe Biden just locks people up. Elizabeth Warren will give it lip service, but she won't do anything about it. It's like when she gave $80 billion to Trump for his war machine in October of 2017. That's why you come here, folks, because I'm going to give you the news that they're not. I don't think CNN or MSNBC is playing that clip of Kamala Harris. I don't think they played that clip. They're too busy calling Tulsi Gabbard an Assad apologist and making fun of Bernie for having a hoarse voice because he talks a lot about student debt forgiveness and Medicare for all and a Green New Deal. So thanks for watching the show. Like, subscribe, share these videos. Please make sure you've hit the bell notification button. I do live chats every Sunday. And go to patreon.com/Graham Elwood, rockfin.com/Graham Elwood, and grahamelwood.com for all my tour dates. I'm going all over the world. Come check me out. Thanks for watching.